4:30. It's probably a little after 4:30. We can probably call our meeting to order. My name is Stacy Lindquist. I am the acting president because Dee is not here. So, the first item on our agenda is to review today's agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at what's happening? Yes? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Could you please say your first names for
Approved.
me when you, just because I'm getting to know everybody. And I'm sorry, thank you. And was that Bob or?
Me.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Made a motion.
Wendy, thank you.
And then the next item of business is to review and approve the minutes from our March 11th meeting. So we'll just take a second to go over those.
One small typo,
Yes.
Stacy, that I'd like to call to focus attention. It's trivial, but
Yes.
we want to make sure that we don't misstate a fact about one of our legislators. Glenn Gruenhagen is a senator. He's not a representative.
Oh, okay.
So if we could change that to State Senator Julia Coons.
Oh, this is the one again?
That'd be great.
Oh, right, from the library day at the
Correct.
Capitol.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep. That's the only edit I see that needs to be made.
Excellent. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th meeting?
So moved.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Next item of business is public input. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us, sir?
Nope. But thanks for asking.
Of course.
How about you?
No, everyone's good. Excellent. Team updates, technology. Hello, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great. So in your package, you have our tech update, and Kate and I are going to present. So I'm Bob Lincoln. I'm the systems administrator for the library. I've been here about 7 years, and I love it. We have so many different technology systems. It's absolutely amazing. I counted 74 at one point during this process. So when you think about just the technology part of things, there's a lot of different systems that integrate and work together. And I'd like to introduce Kate Hull.
I'm Kate Hull. I am a business analyst. I work with the PMO, which is a project management office. My job is to help bridge the technology from the library over to IT in the county and make sure that we're working collaboratively, as well as being able to tap resources to make it work better. Not necessarily successfully, but it's always better to have participation. So yeah, it's fun. I've been doing it for 9 years, and the library is one of my absolute favorite groups.
Excellent.
So just so you know, we'd like to do a presentation on 3 things. And the 3 things are what we'd like to talk about today. The first one is the Cersei Dynex Symphony, and that's our SaaS-hosted software. And we're going to be asking you for a recommendation to approve that contract, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The second topic is to approve a vendor for the extended access project in Victoria. You've already approved the project, so we just need to approve the vendor, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We thought, since there's so many new faces here, that it would be helpful to give kind of like a brief update of some things that we've done in the past couple of years. So that's kind of our mission for today. And Kate and I are collaborating on this, so we're going to kind of tag team on that.
So I'm going to talk about the Cersei Dynex ILS contract. The integrated library system, which is ILS, works with Symphony workflows and the web, the enterprise catalog. You'll hear sometimes the terminology or an acronym of OPAC. It is cloud hosted, and when we went to going cloud hosted, it was the first application we decided to take to the cloud in the entire county.
Oh, wow.
So the trend makers are always the library. Honestly, if I want to set the bar, I say the library will do it first, and they always beat it, and then everyone else looks like they need to catch up. Also, it involves with the ERC connector, which is Libby, that's the app on your phone, Overdrive. And then we're able to use or tap cloud analytics. And that's basically being able to analyze and scoop data. And in this day and age, it's all about the data. That's my geeky hat.
So I want to, in a previous presentation in another year, we had 32 acronyms for different technology things. And I just want to make sure that we explain those acronyms. So Kate used the word OPAC, and that's kind of an older term for online public access catalog. And that was a web-based catalog so people could search for materials. And that's morphed into a whole bunch of different things now with, book rivers and lists and all sorts of different things. But online public access catalog originally was a very basic way to search for the books. We probably all remember that. And then you mentioned SaaS.
Yep.
And SaaS is our software as a service. So we pay for a package of software that includes our Symphony, which is our ILS, and everything connects to Symphony. That's the integrated library system. And SaaS stands for software as a service. So we are purchasing a subscription to the whole package of that, and it's all cloud hosted. The other one you mentioned was ERC. So that's Electronic Resource Connector. So through our web services, which connects Enterprise to Symphony, Web Services also has an ERC connector which connects to the Libby platform. And so we have an electronic connection that transfers information back and forth constantly. So you place a hold, it's updated in seconds.
And how many databases do you have to watch over on a regular basis?
We have 80 databases, so 160 different links for databases, whether it's inside the library or outside the library. So just so you know, the Cersei Dynamics contract, we migrated to Cersei Dynamics in 2020, and it is kind of our collection of all of the software that we have. We do have other packages of software that we purchased either through them or other vendors, but it is our main library system software. And our contract ends at the end of this year, so 12/31/2025. And Kate and I, and we've spoken with Jody and the management team as well, we recommend renewal with this company, and we'll be asking for your recommendation as well. Right now it's a 2-year contract. I know our first contract was 5 years, and the company Cersei Dynamics was recently purchased by Harris Computing. And Harris Computing offers a 2-year contract rather than a 5-year. And then before we ask for your recommendation about the Cersei Dynamics ILS contract, it's a 2-year contract. It includes many, many different software pieces that fit together. We have, I could go through all of them if you'd like, but what I would say is that it's kind of a whole package deal, and we're asking for your recommendation to do a 2-year renewal on that. But before we do that, I wanted to know if there's any questions about this. Great.
And in some of these questions, we're blessed to have a board member who is in this. You are in the tech space, and so I think a lot of these acronyms that he uses are you're probably very familiar.
Somewhat
to you.
familiar,
Yes,
yeah.
I would think so. Okay, so this looks like a great product, and I've enjoyed learning about what these platforms do. I mean, as I understand it, this is a platform that handles circulation, procurement, the accounting system. It helps you balance your budgets. It's a cataloging feature, serials control, and so forth. So there are, if you throw in Cersei Dynamics, I count 14 competitors that sell these platforms. I mean, they include Follett Software, Ex Libris, OCLS, Biblionics, LibLime, the Library Corp. I'm sure these names are all familiar,
Yep.
down to Sierra, Mandarin, EBSCO. So what is the cost of the renewal? How does it compare to the previous contract? And what is it about this particular product that makes it the best choice compared to what these other, 13 other competitors are providing?
Great question. I just want to let you know that we went through a complete evaluation of the whole market 5 years ago when we did choose this. We had a previous vendor and we were having a difficult time. One of the ones you mentioned, we were having a difficult time negotiating a contract. It was also more than 2 times as expensive annually or during the 5-year period, and with extra costs that add up very quickly. So we had a team, and we put together 5 different teams during this migration process. And the first team was to look at the market, okay? Look at what's out there, what's a good fit for us. We had rubrics, we had multiple different scoring methods. We had a team that worked on a weekly basis and homework every week, and we looked at everything that was out there. And as a group, so there was librarians, there was people at every level of the library system, including managers, including Jody was a manager at the time and she was involved with it, but Heidi would come and attend some of the meetings or give her perspective on things, and Heidi was our previous library director.
Okay.
So we had a very comprehensive analysis. We ended up looking at a couple of different things, and one of the biggest things that we were looking at was which vendors are really the best for a smaller library system. We are not a Hennepin County or a Victoria library system with 80 libraries, right? So what vendor can do everything that we need, right? And there were multiple vendors that could do what we needed or what we wanted. And making a migration like that was a huge 1.5 year process. And we only had 9 months, but it was a 1.5 year process. And trust me, we worked on it for 3 years later, and we still have the core team going, and we meet once a month. And the core team is, if there are issues that come up, that we have a team that looks at them. And the core team has all of these different levels of staff involved as well, managers, operations supervisors, tech team. So we looked at this very comprehensively, and then we looked at what would be the best fit for us. So I think we had, it was like 10 or 12 that were in our kind of scope. There were more than that. There was about 18 at that time that were in this field. And we narrowed it down to about 12 to really look at, because you have to realize some the county is just not going to approve. Like the previous vendor was, I mean, I can tell you, $110,000 a year for their package, and that did not include hosting.
Yeah.
So you spend $20,000 to $30,000 more on hosting your data with them. So you're looking at a $600,000 contract for 5 years. Our county told us that's not going to fly, right? And how all these companies work is they work with they try to get you in with a low cost, and they add a little bit every year, right? I mean, that's just software companies. That's kind of the world. So we narrowed it down, and we got down to 4 vendors who we met with multiple times. So we had 4 vendors originally, and then it went down to 3, and we had presentations, 2 presentations by 3 different vendors. You're required under county and municipal law to provide the same opportunities for each vendor. So we couldn't give one vendor 2 presentations and 2 times to when it's over, and another one, nothing, or what. So that's kind of the background, and we narrowed it down to one vendor, and that was, we thought Cersei was the best fit for us for long term. Costs, when we got in with Cersei Dynex, 5 years ago, it was about $50,000 a year. Most software companies add about, it used to be 3 or 4% a year, and now it's 5 to 8. And this is industry standard, it's like everywhere.
So it was 50,000 a year for 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
That was
That
5 years ago.
So the new contract is 2 years.
The new contract is 2 years, and it's 66,000. I have it right here. I could give you the exact number. 67,991 and 10 cents for the first year, and it's 70,713 $136.02 for the second year for a total of $136. I just worked on this contract this afternoon, so for the grand total for 2 years would be $136,000, roughly. And that includes everything. That's the SaaS, software as a service, that's the hosting, that's all of our data. It has gotten a little bit more expensive because we've added things. We added a bookings module. We added SMS text messaging, which costs us every year, and those are just added on costs. We added an acquisitions module. That's included. We added a serials module. So a serials has to do with magazines and the scheduling of magazines and managing the subscriptions, and so that was an added on cost. We've added other things that don't add costs. So for instance, we added Syndetics Unbound, which is, if you look at the catalog, you can see the rivers, the books, and the book rivers, and the collection team and the tech team collaborate on that, and the librarians put together the lists of books that go in there, and then we add that widget to the page.
So the book river is that when you're looking at the library page, it shows the picture of the book and kind of slowly scrolls across. That's what a book river is.
That's cool.
One thing to note that as we learned from this process is Circe was really responsive. Now, in the previous company, we had platinum service, and if we heard back from them within a week, we might actually hear back from them. However, we actually have a high response rate from Circe. They're always open to change and innovation, and we've had really positive experiences with them, and sometimes there's a great value with that. And it is a huge process undertaking overall to switch systems. Before we switched to Circe, we started with the other company in 2001. And so it's a long time, and a lot of people commit to a long time. It's like operating systems. You've got people who are Windows users, you've got people who are iOS users. They kind of get in their niche and stay with it.
Right.
And so far they've been very competitive still, and they're still under the cost of the other vendor.
Totally. I have a question. So I appreciate the feedback because I think all of the board members are pretty new. So we weren't around when you guys did this 5 years ago. So that's really helpful. But I think the way that you helped me understand it too, Kate, is sort of like when you would run your TV off coaxial cable, right? But then you got internet. And so you just stay on internet for a while, right? So that's kind of what I'm understanding is like we made a decision that we would use Circe, and now we will probably be on it for 10 years or
10
so.
years.
I mean, we're not really looking at finding another vendor, right? It's kind of like, yeah.
I've been through that. I'm not.
We like what they're doing. The cost seems to be in line with,
Exactly.
yeah.
And quite honestly, undertaking of going out and doing that
Right.
research, the return on investment of employee time and stuff is also to take that into
Sure.
account. And so I would not, at this point, it's a 2-year contract, and we'll see how Harris Computing treats us.
Right.
If they still continue the cellular performance.
Can I share 3 positives? And
Yeah,
I
of
just
course.
want to share 3 so I manage the technology for the library, right? And we partner on a lot of projects, and I've got a tech team with Scott and Catherine. They're brilliant technology associates. When we moved from Innovative to Circe Dynamics, we were all full. We were at our max. There were so many different things we had to deal with. The data migration was a challenge. Then once we had the data, we had to massage it. There were so many different processes to go from one company to another. I can't even explain it to you. We had a spreadsheet, and I always make things green when we got them figured out, right? 3 things. The first year was very challenging. I mean, there's a skill set that you need to learn with a new vendor and a new package of software. I mean, both from the tech side and the staff working side, and I mean, at every level. We had set up a spreadsheet so that all complaints or all problems would go to the spreadsheet. Scott, Catherine, and I would all get an email, and then that would be logged in a spreadsheet. This is the way we track when we do migrations. So when we move to something different, staff know, and we'll communicate this, to do that. And so then what that does is, that gives us a spreadsheet of things we need to either figure out, find out if there's a pattern. Is this happening in all the branches? Is this one employee? Or is this something that's, going to be a problem down the future? So, and that, we had hundreds of items on there. It was like 280 items or something. They're all green, okay? In the first year, they're all green. We continued with a couple of different things after that. We continued, and this is a part of our package also, consulting. So we meet quarterly with 2 different consultants. One to work on our symphony side, which is our, the ILS and the circulation and all the different components of that. And then another one works on our discovery side, which is the catalog and kind of the visual face that the community sees, right? The last 3 meetings with our consultants, we've had 0 questions and 0 topics. And so what that tells you is we're making some progress, right? So the consulting calls, they're not a waste, because we still have questions with them, and we still, get some things figured out, and we can plan some things ahead. But our first year, our consulting calls were 2 hours long, and we could have gone 4, and the guy had so much homework in between, both the guys had so much homework in between our next call that it was almost overwhelming, right? But every migration is like that. First year got better. Now we have a core team, and the core team's been going since we did the migration. The last couple times that we were to meet with the core team, we canceled because we had 0 topics. Now, what does that really mean in the big picture? In my mind, that means that the big problems have been resolved, that things are working pretty well, and that the core team is there. If there's a problem that comes up or something happens or we need to fix something, right, we'll use the core team. My team meets weekly to discuss things, and we work on things. And so just the core team, if you look at the number of topics the first year, it was like 15 topics on every core team meeting once a month. It was overwhelming. It was absolutely, because you could spend a week just answering one of those questions, because you're learning, right? And then the next year, got down to like 6 or 7 questions. Next year, 4 or 5. And now we're at a point where we don't really have a lot of questions on the core team each month. We've canceled the last couple of meetings. And that, in my mind, that's a sign that we're going in the right direction. We're making successful decisions and successful training, and that things are going pretty well. So those are 3 kind of things that I would say, if you really look at the big picture, if you look at the bottom line, that's a very measurable way to look at how many problems we've had in the last year versus a year ago versus 2 years ago versus the migration year.
I would add that the analytics portion of it, if we wanted a report from the previous vendor, we had to request for their help. They had to write the report for us, and it's going to cost you money. This came with so many preset reports. It was like, data? Ooh, give me more data. And of course, it's not until you hit year 5 that you really are starting to get into your stride for having a collection of data. So that would be another super positive that I would call. Cool.
Other questions about the 2-year renewal?
Well, you mentioned that this is the first SaaS cloud hosted product in the county.
Correct.
And do you expect others to follow suit?
Others have,
Okay,
right?
yes, so we've had the program for 5 years.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
And as soon as the library got on board, we've gone to CGIS, which is our criminal support system. We've almost everywhere, in fact, IT as a general, we push them to the SaaS. It's so much more secure. What's really great is updates can happen on their side, behind the scenes, and we don't have to take down a computer. We don't have to have people in IT overnight, any of that stuff. But it's just on the fly, and SaaS has been, overall for the county, a better investment. So.
Charles, I thought you would ask this question, so I'm going to answer it. I just figured you would. Our downtime with Cersei Dynamics. So in the 5 years, it's about once or twice a year that we have an issue. And it's not usually a down system. It's usually it's usually county IT, the county internet. Sorry, I'm just being honest. But we've had a couple of issues where it's really slow or punchy one day. like the VPN wasn't virtual private network that our connection is. It's just not quite jamming, it's not doing great. And it's about once or twice a year, because I looked that up, just a guy asked me that in a call today.
And recently with the library, we did a switch upgrade. And so that should also give us more bandwidth. I mean, face it, when you have a closet, you only have so much space. How would you like to be able to expand your closet without having to like redo your whole house? We were able to do that with just replacing the switches, which gives the patrons a better experience and the staff as well as the application.
So do they have scheduled downtimes that you can recycle the service, or they just keep moving around their virtual servers?
They normally do our enterprise on a Thursday at 3 a.m. And then when they do SaaS updates, they do on Sunday nights
Right.
at like 1 to 4 a.m. So it doesn't really affect our live time. And they can do an update on the SaaS side and not even push it out to us and then push it out to us. So when we upgraded from, okay, this is getting really technical, but when we upgraded from 4.7.1 to 5.1.1 or 5.1.0, they pushed it out to us at a time we scheduled. So we did the upgrade over a course of a week, or I should say they did.
Right.
And then they pushed it out on our schedule.
And when we go to our schedule, it's also IT updating what's called VDI. It's our virtual desktop environment. And so IT has to update that to also redirect to the updated version. So I mean, it's a symphony. I mean, I don't mean to be funny, but it really is a symphony of people working together. And I do have to admit, I really enjoy working with Cersei.
And they are very responsive. We have support that is 24/7, and all the managers and operations supervisors and the tech team have access to make a case or call if a system is down. And you press 1 for systems down, and you'll be on the phone with somebody in a minute, and they're going to start work on it right then. And they've been very responsive to us.
Any other questions about Cersei, or should we move to the extended access? Okay, extended access.
Should we ask for a...
Support?
You know
I
the
think it's
technology?
later on.
Yeah, it's a little bit later, I think.
Yep, we're gonna.
Okay.
Okay, so next is our Victoria Library Extended Access. What that is it means that we're gonna have more open hours before it's staffed and later open hours after it's staffed. So right now I think we're looking at 7 to 10. We've chosen Biblioteca Open Plus. They are a global leader in extended access. The number 2 one was based in Australia, or was it New Zealand?
No, they're local.
Oh, that was local too. But they had 850 installations nationwide. Our county across the river, Scott, used them, and they've had success. There's 70 installations in North America. We are seeking the board recommendation for Biblioteca. What goes into this Biblioteca contract is we're going to have cameras installed so that we can kind of keep an eye open for patron safety and, of course, our material safety. We will be having the ability to have patrons be able to check out at night. They can go exit the library or come in early. One of the people I've talked to was actually from Biblioteca. They go to the Washington Library on Saturday mornings when their kids wake up at 7. What do you do with a kid at 7 o'clock in the morning that's bouncing off the walls? Well, let's go to the library and find some books and do some quiet time. And that's what they do. This will offer the opportunity to take Victoria Library, which is kind of Victoria's a bedroom community generally, and this gives the patrons and the residents of Victoria more opportunity to use this resource.
So if you have cameras in there, are they going to be able to distinguish activities and go, oh, we need to call the police kind of thing, or is there ever going to be a situation, and is there some kind of a method to do that?
Charles,
We will
can
have
I-
access to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I rephrase your question? Because I think I know where you're going. So I had, so will the cameras record? Will there just be cameras or will they record?
They'll record for 30 days.
Okay, so their state, it's like, probably not on a tape, it's probably stored in the cloud
No,
for 30
it's going up
days?
into it's going into a server, a Milestone server.
Okay.
Which is considered one of the most secure. That's where we actually upload. The sheriff's department has their own Milestone.
Sure.
And they upload the Axon body cameras
Sure.
up to that, so it's very secure.
Okay.
And I'll have body cameras in the library during extended hours, just for the record, okay?
Right. So my
I
guess,
was just curious, like,
yeah,
It won't notify us if nefarious activities are happening.
right, it would be an after.
Yeah.
When you get into the library and you see that there's a bunch of books pulled off the shelf and you're like, that's weird, then you have to go watch the tape and try to determine who was in the library at that time and sort of start your investigation from there.
Right.
And not all staff are gonna have access to
Right.
the video.
Right.
Right, and that's, and the video management server is a way to store that so that you can look at it remotely.
And if you see VMS, that's Video Management Server, any acronym like that, it's always nice to know that. But yeah, that is the case. And we'll be able to detect with the cards, the card access.
Right.
In the world of IT, we use multi-factor authentication. They'll need the card, something they have, and then something they know, a PIN code. So it's not like someone can pick up Joe Smith's card off the ground and let himself in. That's not the case. They have to know the PIN code as well.
And the city of Victoria is collaborating with us on this, obviously, right? And there are some practical matters. So we walked through with Deputy Vassar this week and looked at it from kind of a legal standpoint and a security standpoint. And she gave us some really great feedback and some ideas. So that was one kind of walkthrough. But we also met with the Victoria staff, and they have cameras in their lobby. Which is great, but they are going to move their cameras for better coverage and upgrade them to the latest digital, as you know, to kind of balance out what we're doing and to collaborate with us. So I thought that was pretty cool, and they're quite excited about it. I know a lot of people wonder about security, right? I mean, this is kind of a new concept for us. We're gonna be open 7 to 10 in the morning every day, and then till 10 at night. I mean, that's a lot of hours, and staff aren't gonna be there. Well, this is a very successful program, and this has been doing really, really well in the United States. It is huge in Europe, in Northern Europe. I mean, it's just like off the scale. It's very popular. Some people have questions about security. So we asked Christie in Scott County what sort of security issues they've had. And they had somebody forget their library card. So you could memorize your library card, right? I mean, that was one issue. Another issue, somebody fell asleep. so truthfully, there's a process that you go through. So before you're allowed to go in there or encouraged to go in there, you will have an interview with a staff member, you will watch a video, you will sign it's not quite a waiver, but it's a agreement to the, what you can and can't do during that. So it's not just like we're setting the community loose on, crazy hours. No, there's a process, and we've already set up an appointment schedule with LibCal. So there's a appointment schedule, so when the communications does go out, they can sign up for a time to meet with the librarian, to sit down, go over the training, go over any sorts of questions, and then we hope to launch in September. That's our goal. So.
And just to be clear, this is, I think your ask in a few minutes when we get there is for the software only. Like the idea that people are coming after hours has already been decided, right? Okay, cool.
Just the company
it's just
software,
the
yep.
company, the
Yep.
the type of software that we're going to use. Okay.
It's also the infrastructure, because you're talking about cameras and things like that. It's the
Right.
infrastructure. So is there like, I'm going to ask a stupid question here. I always look for the 5% that, it's like most of the time it won't happen, but if it does happen, is there a panic button?
There's a way for them to communicate, yes, and that's been planned out. It's kind of a 3-step process. So they've got during open library hours, they would just call a library if there's a problem.
Right.
After hours, they can call or send in an email to the contact us. If, let's say, they're having trouble with one of the computers or something, or they think they lost a document or something, contact us. What was the third one? I know there was one more.
Call 911.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I don't want to be the one to say that, because we're not going to need that, but the sheriff's aware, I mean, the sheriffs are
Right.
aware of it, they know what's going on,
Right.
and we'll be communicating more with them.
And
So-
there is
Video
a,
Tech Open is just a software, there's not monitoring that they are doing for us, no, it's
No,
not service.
no.
Okay.
Right.
in the Victoria space, there is a sheriff's office that is staffed. Not I don't know all the hours, but there is.
They randomly drop in too,
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's a
Sure.
little more, if you want to use the word surveillance in that regard.
I'd say
so,
deterrent.
Yeah.
That's more of a positive, as people see an officer's car randomly coming and going at all times of night. They go in and they go do reports and stuff like that. So I think there's just that level of security of having that relationship so close.
So Victoria's the guinea pig here. This is the first-
No, Victoria is the pilot program.
The pilot.
We're not using the term guinea pig.
Scott County was the guinea pig.
No, I think it's great. It would be interesting to sort of track the metrics around activity, which I presume you're planning. to do.
We've got a
Got a
plan
whole
for all that.
Yep.
assessment system.
That was the Blue Cloud Analytics part.
Got it.
So we can get the data we need
Yep.
before,
Yep.
after, during.
And Open Plus also has a people counter.
Yep.
Right.
So we'll see, the numbers of actual foot traffic. And then, like in this day and age where people are looking for jobs, or little Joey has to print, and people don't necessarily have printers at home anymore, they can send the print job from home, swing in after hours, pick up that print job, and be on their way.
Sure. Yep.
So,
Can I add one more piece?
Please.
Just as a reminder too, so this currently is funded for 3 years with the Charles Dalkey Grant Fund.
Yep.
So I think that's just a good
Right.
additional piece. to
Good call, I forgot about that one, yes.
Curious, how much is this service?
The extended access?
Yeah,
It's $52,000, $444 for 3 years. And that's prepaid with a discounted rate for the support and maintenance year 2 and year 3. I just worked on these contracts this morning.
he's
so-
like the numbers like, wow.
Thanks, Charles, for not calling on me for those numbers off the top of my head.
Any other questions about the extended access? We think it's really exciting. To be honest with you, the places, the locations that have gotten it have seen an increase in activity, increase of checking out, but what you might not expect is just the increase of people spending time in their libraries. And that was what was kind of surprising when this was implemented, right? So that kind of a neat byproduct, right? You're becoming the community hub, so to speak, and so I thought that was very notable.
Well, and with people's work schedules varying so much to their hours and whatnot, it's very friendly for them to be
Right.
able to access it.
Swing in, pick up your hold, maybe find a different other book.
Yep.
So Kate, didn't you say this was gonna be a 10-minute presentation? No, I'm just kidding.
You said that. I said we're gonna go off on a limb, and
Right.
you knew it.
Any more questions about the extended access? May we please give you a brief, just kind of a brief history, because I know we have many new staff and staff in new positions and all sorts of stuff. So we just thought we'd kind of highlight a couple of bullet points of some things that have happened. Obviously, we migrated to Cersei Dynex 5 years ago, right? And since then, I think things have been getting much, much better in regards to customer service, in regards to our numbers. I mean, if you look at our circulation numbers, that's great, but I also think the number of calls coming into the tech team, I don't really want to say it's lessened from staff, but they've completely changed. They're asking questions to go to the next level of service, or to do something that's going beyond just normal service. And so that's one thing that we've observed. Very, very interesting. A couple of quick things that we've done. We implemented automatic renewals in 2023. And what that means is that when you check out an item, it's automatic renewed for up to 4 times, and you don't have to visit the library for a while. And that was in 2023, And it's still going now, and we had 2 people that chose not to do it originally, like we offered that as a, if you don't want to do this, and I believe they're both doing it now. So automatic renewal is also something that's happening, you know, nationwide and worldwide. It's a very convenient thing for patrons.
Right, I'll even speak to that because I forgot to renew my Atomic Habits, and then I got a little email going, we automatically renewed it. I'm like, yes! So that's been a great benefit. Along another great benefit is we have technology. We've implemented SMS notifications, text messaging. So if you have a book that you've been waiting for to be on hold and you don't necessarily get into your mail, but your phone, almost all of us are carrying phones nowadays, they can choose to get text messaging and they'll be notified that their book is ready or any of those things. And I think that that has been a huge benefit, showing that we are very forward-thinking, that we're mindful of what's coming up with the next generation. We still have the old stuff like the ITIVA, but the way of the future, ITIVA is the phone renewal system. But that one is kind of slowly getting phased out. Eventually we'll see a change. I see that that'll happen as we get more digital natives using the library as time progresses.
Anybody know what SMS stands for?
So many-
Short Message Service.
Yeah, text messaging.
Right, short message service. So I'm explaining the acronyms, that's what,
Yep.
that's what I'm trying to do. We also implemented online patron registration, and we did this, we had this a long time ago where you could fill out the form and then bring it to a library and get a library card, but now it's customized, and we work with some consultants at Cersei Dynex. A patron can go to our website, fill out this form, get a code that they can use immediately to, you know, have full access to the library, and then in 72 hours they will receive their library card in the mail. So it's really kind of a great service, and it's being used all the time. Our numbers are, number of patrons has gone up to 74,000 patrons in the library system. So if you think about it, when we moved to Cersei Dynex, we were under 50,000. So that's a pretty steady, pretty big jump.
Does Carver County offer non-resident library
Yes.
cards? We
Yes.
do. Is it like $60 a year, something
No.
like that? No?
No charge.
There's no charge?
None.
Non-resident?
You just have to register with our library system. Actually, Kevin, or you probably know more about that than I do. You just have to
Really?
register.
I didn't know that. So like, but if someone lived in Alaska, they could go online and register for a library card?
Well, if they're in Alaska, no, but any other state.
Okay, really, any other state? So they don't, we just don't like Alaska? That's funny, okay.
No.
I did not know that.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
wild. Okay,
Yeah,
that's.
and what's really nice
okay.
about that is they'll get a temporary passcode or a temporary
Yeah.
card number. And then in a couple days, because I tested because mine expired, I had a really
Sure.
old one, vintage, I think the term is. And you get one in the mail.
Wow.
And so then you got the nice hard plastic one for the mail.
Sure.
And since I test things all the time, I did the online patron registration form.
Yeah.
And used my son's name for the library card. And yes, it was 3 days. It was pretty good.
Our
Impressive.
office manager lives in Shakopee, and she comes to this library because Shakopee's is so awful. And she said she just loves to come to this library. So it's nice that you let people outside the county.
You can register your library card in almost every single system in the state.
Mhm.
It's very open in Minnesota, and that's that case in many places, but usually you just take your one card. I'm registered in, I think, 4 libraries. So it's really great here.
And would
Library.
your friend technically be called a reciprocal user?
Yes.
So that's
Yep.
the concept of reciprocal user.
Got it.
It has nothing to do with reciprocal tariffs, just for the record. Nothing to do with it.
Is it just a common thing for Minnesota libraries, or is it just Carver County?
Melsug pretty much does it,
Melsug,
but
right.
yeah, the
It's-
libraries in
Yeah,
the
all over the
Minneapolis
state.
I
area.
can go up to Grand Marais and have I've registered my card there. It's not just in this.
It's statewide,
Yeah.
and that's part of the
That's the system
statewide
that we
delivery
have
service
for-
as well.
Unique to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be a branch or a system or two in the state or a branch that doesn't, but I don't know who they are. So-
There are limitations though with digital content,
Yes.
mostly because of copyright and all that. Yeah.
Licensing.
And
Yeah,
it depends
licensing.
on- Like you can actually register Hennepin and still access their.
Okay.
If you aren't a resident, that may change.
Right,
But
yeah.
You can't, like, I used to work in Sherburne County, and I could register a Great River card in Hennepin, but a Hennepin County resident could register a reciprocal card, but wouldn't have access to the digital content. So, and the licensing thing, as I know Jody has said, is all over the place.
Yeah.
Another thing coming up this summer, though, is online patron registration. We're going to actually have a sign-up terminal here as a pilot, allowing people to just, oh, I'm in and I just want to sign up. They can just sit down and sign right up right then and there, and off to the races they go.
And it has security feature on it. It'll be a VDI machine, virtual desktop machine. So when they hit submit, it will send their information to our Symphony system, and it'll wipe that machine clean so there's no residual data. So we have that same sort of setup on, not VDI, but with our public PCs. We wipe the machine after each use.
And did you say that was going to be here that it's piloting?
Correct. Yeah.
But if you want to volunteer with Waconia soon after.
Yep.
She's got her own pilot in Waconia. You just relax.
We like to pilot things.
So a couple other things. Kevin's kind of leading the charge on this, but we have scheduling software for managing staff and scheduling, which has been really just a deal breaker this year. And so that's kind of new. And everybody's got the app on their phone, so they can add a shift or pick up a shift or switch shifts with people, and it goes through their manager to approve. But so that's pretty cool. One thing that Jody and I were very excited about, and I think Kate as well, is we now have mobile printing in all 6 branches. What does that mean? When patrons are in the library, or when people are in the library, they can print using our system that's in the library. But we also have World Wide Web access to our 6 printers, and you can print from anywhere. You can print from anywhere by a web or by an app or by your phone or a computer. So it's really simple. You send a job to the Chanhassen Library, and then you can just go in with your library card or your email address and print it out. So it's a big trend right now that a lot of people aren't buying printers at home any longer because they use them once or twice a year, and then their printer cartridge is dead and dried up or whatever. And so we were pretty excited to get that going in all 6 branches. We've had it in some of the branches earlier, but and Princh is one of our new vendors. So
And Princh is so much more secure than what the old vendor that we had. We didn't pay any more to have this vendor.
we paid less.
Thank you. But it's even more secure. The last one would not pass our security in the Carver IT world. Princh meets those expectations.
We've only got about 42 more topics we want to talk about, so I just want to let you know. Synthetics Unbound, we already talked about that. That's the book Rivers. That was a new project that we did in the last year. And that's actually really fun because it's so visual, it's so rewarding, and it's a collaboration with the collection team, the librarians that make all the selections for the library. A couple of quick ones. We migrated from Biblioteca, I'm saying that vendor name again, I'll bring it up in a second, to Envisionware for our RFID, radio frequency ID. We have pads on our staff workstations that can read the tags that are in the back of the book, the radio tags that are in the back of the book, and you can scan multiple books, up to a pile of books simultaneously. And we went from Biblioteca was our vendor for 8 years, and their system did not work very well with our VDI. And we worked with them probably for a year and a half, 5 different meetings, trying to get it to work with our VDI and try to solve this problem, and it didn't work. So we ended up with a new vendor, Envisionware, last year, and that has been our smoothest implementation of any big project in our whole, since I've been here, Kate's been here. So that was quite a blessing. It was great, and that's the security gate, and that's the The big self-checks, all those are brand new, and so the new vendor's going very, very well. Biblioteca is a world leader in this extended access, and we have chosen to go with them for the reasons that they're so great at that. Their software is great, and I don't want to complain about their RFID software at all. It just didn't work with VDI. And we tried to get it to work for a year and a half, and we couldn't solve the issue, so. You want to do the last couple?
Sure. We went fine free in 2025, which you all voted on. I've been in the various locations, and I hear when people go, "Oh, I'm late. I'm like 5 days late. I probably owe you money," and it's like, "Oh no, it's fine free." To see their face light up, it was pretty cool because you could see some of them where parents were probably struggling anyways, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we can come back to the library again." That kind of thing. That's, I think, positive. We have new PCs in all of our branches in 2025, which is really exciting.
And new monitors in all of our branches last year for all the public PCs.
Do you rent those or do you purchase those?
We purchased those. And we're testing, just so you know, in Waconia, we'll be testing going to VDI as a possibility for the public PCs. And VDI is a virtual desktop. It's like a little box that connects directly to the county system, and it's virtual desktop, so it's very, very secure, end-to-end and traveling encryption. And then we would have a lot more control over that. My team spends a ton of time every week updating PCs. We're putting in brand new PCs. We're re-imaging them all right now, which means loading the software and putting it, it's very complicated. But the bottom line is, we're just putting all the software on there so it can go out to the library. Then when it gets to the library, we got to assign it to the Envisionware system so that it can print, right? So there's a lot of steps to these. But after they're deployed, then we end up spending a lot of time
Maintenance.
Updating them. And we've got a system that manages those, that updates them every Saturday night at 5 o'clock. But Windows updates aren't always friendly with other systems. And so mostly updates, but testing out in Waconia we're going to try with 5 VDI stations to see if that would work. In the long run, it would save a lot of money. And that's why we're trying it.
In the instance of keeping our meeting sort of going.
But I've got 40.
No, I know. I know. But I see we have a number of things to do as well. So thank you both very much. Does anybody have other questions or comments about either of those 2 items? Okay, cool. Next action item is the annual state report. Jody, I'm not familiar. I don't remember this from last year. Can you help me remember what this is?
Sure, this is our report that we compile annually for state library services. And there's a lot of different team members, some of who are sitting at the table here that help to compile all of this data. And if you were to go onto the state's website, you'd be able to go back and pull up yes, all of this data
several years.
from our system, from all the systems across the state.
I do remember
this is this is a requirement for us, obviously, but a really important annual look for us locally at what has been happening and being able to comparatively look at pieces from the state report as well. And I should say, Susan Blatz, who's not here, and you all know Susan Blatz through her communication, she's our administrative assistant. She really leads she kind of helps gather all the team members who pull this information together, and she inputs it and works with state library services to make sure that we bring it all to you in time. So we bring it then to all of you, and we can address any questions you might have as we look through this. Really for you all to accept the state report as it is, if you would, so choose to, hopefully. And then we would have, and actually I would communicate with Dee, the president would sign off on it, and then it gets officially submitted to the state.
So this is not the meeting to do this, but I really enjoyed looking at this report, and there's really lots of interesting patterns in this data. And I'm not going to take up time to bring up observation because that's not part of today's agenda, but I would really welcome the apportionment of some time at a future board meeting, Jody and Stacy, to discussing some of those trends. I mean, let me just take 10 seconds and, if you look, for example, at alternative measures of productivity of each branch, for example, you look at the ratio of registered users, including reciprocal users, registered users to staff FTE, you see that ratio all over the place. And so I think that's something for us to talk about. It's not at all a criticism, it's an observation of a high variance of customers to staff members. And so I would encourage a conversation about why do we have this variation? If we want to talk about alignment of the branches with respect to productivity, with respect to labor productivity, maybe we ought to have a conversation about strategic goals to meet to address what we may realize is a misalignment. And there are some other things too in the data, but this is not a day for talking about that. But this is really a valuable resource. This is really a valuable resource. But I have no quibbles with the report as it's presented. It's just that the data on the report, I think there's a lot of underlying value there.
There's a lot in there.
Yes.
There's a lot,
Yes.
absolutely.
Can I offer to come back and join you for that discussion? No, I would be very interested in that.
So I think we have an action item to approve this. And it doesn't matter that Dee's not here, correct? Because we still have our quorum?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So do I have a motion to approve the annual report?
I motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
Second? Okay, passed. Or approved, I should say. The next item we have is for the, sorry?
You need to have a vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, we do. I apologize, we had a first and a second, we had a motion and a second. All in favor, say yay.
Aye.
Aye, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, thank you. It's my first time, I
We need
don't
a
remember.
gavel.
Wasn't, it would be so
I've
easy if
always
we just
asked for a
need two
gavel,
people.
so give it.
Yeah, gavel would be good. The next item that Bob and Kate talked about was the Dynix contract renewal. Does anyone have any additional questions before we? Okay, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Warren, thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And then the next item is the extended access, the software, Biblioteca software that will be used as the infrastructure, how to make this work. Do anybody have questions? Does anyone have questions? No?
This is not an amendment to the motion, but because this is a pilot, I would really welcome a return of the two of you to talk about any metrics that you're gathering to look at the effectiveness of this product. In theory, these things should pay for themselves. You'd rather have this system than, for example, security guards all night. That's a crude example, but some report back on how's this
Return
going?
of investment.
Yeah. But not an amendment, just a thought.
So we're scheduled for next April. If you want it before then, we'll have to, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we can make that
Also
work.
the 42 items that you haven't talked about.
Thank you.
It's deferred for 1 year.
I think that's really helpful, actually, your comment. Yeah. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? No opposed. Okey doke. No new and unfinished business on the agenda, but we do have a budget update from Jody.
Which I would just open it up to questions. Well, aside from the current environment across the nation that we're in, where we're at currently is a pretty quiet time in our budget because we're still fairly early. I mean, our collection team constantly is purchasing, so they're trying to stay on track with that part of our budget. And I always speak to our stock, our STOC salaries budget for our subs, and we're doing just fine with that, which is great. And Kevin helps to oversee that piece. Bob and I have been having, conversations about technology budget and in terms of PC replacement and laptop replacement. So it's just making sure that we're on track to plan for our spending for the year. And any needs across the branches, if it's an additional book bin, if it's upholstery replacement, other needs that surface. But I would definitely, if anyone has questions specifically, I can try to address them today.
I maybe asked last time, but you have 100,000 coming from MELSA. Is that something that you budgeted or you know it's going to be?
Say that again, sorry.
You have 100,000 from MELSA.
Mm-hmm.
Is that budget or is it you know that you're going to get 100,000?
We know that that's coming from, and it just really goes directly into operating budget for us.
So it's just a timing of when you're going to put the books on actual receipt of 100,000. Because the first line is budget 100K and then selected months is still 0. So you haven't got it yet, basically. Is that right?
Yes, we have. That one has come in, but it hasn't been accounted for from finance in terms of where it's being utilized.
Thank you, sorry.
No, it's all good, absolutely. And that bumped up a little bit because of the additional RLBSS funding. And so we were able to bring in a little bit more, and some of that too we accounted for. See, it's all coming back to me, Charles. We accounted for knowing that we were going fine free, and so just trying to offset some of that as well. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think this is unfair. We explained all of our acronyms and you just used a huge one and didn't explain it. RLBBSD.
Regional Library.
Something.
I call it RLBSS, but it's the funding that comes in from the state, RLBSS. Why am I forgetting what the acronym stands for? Regional Library. Yeah.
Regional Library System Support.
Yeah.
And where's the B?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Budget? Basic.
Basic, okay. I just heard the BS part.
You always hear the BS part.
I don't have any questions. I'm not a math person, so the budget always sort of like goes over my head a little bit.
There are a lot of moving parts in the budget, if you think about it. The first 2 years I was here, it was very hard for me to figure out how it worked. And I had my budget categories, but there's a whole bunch of budget categories, and you're at your percentage of what you've spent so far in the year. We meet almost monthly, just even when, like right now, when we don't have that much to worry about, it's early in the year and we're on track with our spending, that sort of thing. But we meet just about monthly to discuss the budget, and every time I learn stuff.
And I will say government budget is much more different than private sector working budgets. Vastly different.
Is there any action on that? No, no action.
No action.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So do you want to move to your director's report?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So one of the first notes that I made in the director's report, of course, was the executive order targeting IMLS funding, which is federal funding, the Institute of Museum and Library Services,
Thank you.
IMLS.
Oh, I know it.
So that it's still unclear exactly how that could, especially locally, impact us. What we know is that some of that funding, and we don't have, so one of the things that IMLS offers to libraries, to public libraries, is grant funding. We currently don't have any IMLS grants that are active. We have in the past, such as we've done some STEM programming grants. We had hotspots a few years ago that were funded by IMLS. So we just don't have any current grants in that mode of operation. So that is not going to, impact us in the moment. Some of the IMLS funding trickles down to the state to Minitex, which Minitex offers a lot of statewide resources, and what I've listed here would potentially impact us. It could be interlibrary loan, which is our statewide service, delivery service that we have. And we, in Carver County, on average over the last few years, I would say we see going in and out probably close to 11,000 materials a year that go in and out via interlibrary loan.
We have a staff member that's almost dedicated to that.
Here in Chanhassen, one of our library assistants does that almost full-time, Amy Poland. There's a collection of different ebooks, not Libby, called eBooks Minnesota, that we have access to, and we have quite a few databases also that are provided and funded through Minitex. Those really are the main pieces that could impact us locally if it comes to that. We just don't know yet. We just don't have a lot of picture yet. But so what I'm just trying to do is proactively stay in touch, obviously all the time, with MELSA, the MELSA Executive Director and Board of Directors and the trustees. I have also been in touch with the Minitex Director, Maggie Snow, and just trying to keep a pulse. Bob's been going to some, and we can talk a little bit about that too, but webinars regarding E-rate. And so just trying to stay on top of kind of a constantly evolving world that we're in at the moment. So we may know a little bit more on the Minitex side once the state gets a little further along in their budget and their legislative year. We do know, MELSA is looking at whether they would have contingency funds in place so that if Minitex wasn't able to continue, say, interlibrary loan as an example, or some of the databases, would MELSA be able to step in just for the metro area and be able to support some of that? Again, this is all just very preliminary, but want to just, let you know kind of where we're at with things.
Well, Jody, I was going
Yep.
to say that, aside from the fact that it looks very likely that we're moving into a very challenging economic environment in the next couple of years. My concern with Minitex would be, as I understand it, that it's a resource sharing program that's jointly provided by the State Office of Higher Education and the University of Minnesota Libraries. And being someone from the higher ed ecosystem, I can tell you that all universities are really having trouble right now. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. And I don't have direct evidence on library cutbacks occurring in individual institutions, but I'm actually more concerned about the University of Minnesota library system having to cut back because of potentially large cutback in some other area of the university where the administration has to scramble and find ways to make that up. And unfortunately, and I've seen this happen from experience, libraries suffer, systems suffer at universities.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's what we're hearing from Minitex too.
Is that right?
Yep. So it's going to be very challenging.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Can I talk about E-rate at all?
Sure.
So on another administrative decision at the federal level has affected our E-rate. And E-rate is the FCC developed a organization called USAC, and USAC supports E-rate funding, and it funds schools and libraries and hospitals and low internet areas and low income areas, this started out in the 50s with, don't worry, I don't have 44 points, okay? But it started off in the 50s with telephones, and we tried to get telephone service, the country did, try to get telephone services into all the rural areas. That's really what it came down to. And then it became high-speed telephone, and then it became internet, dial-up, and then it became high-speed internet, and now it's fiber. And so it's morphed for the last, since the 50s, it's changed, but the FCC has managed this through USAC, and an executive order just cut off the funding for E-rate. And there was I've attended 3 different webinars. There's an organization that I've spoken to Jody about, SHLB, and I don't know what that stands for. But they are national advocates on behalf of E-rate for the whole country. And they, pardon me?
How do you spell that?
It's SHLB. And it's Shelby, it's a coalition of people, but they're one of the biggest advocates for E-rate, and they argued their case in front of the Supreme Court like a week and a half ago. And I went to their discussion about how they were going to argue before the Supreme Court, and then they argued before the Supreme Court, and I was in the webinar afterwards where they discussed their strategies and the potential. And it depends on how you interpret it. This could be devastating for libraries. If you want to know our impact, can I share this? Because it would be $60,000 a year that we get in E-rate funding for our fiber optic pipeline that connects all of our libraries to the state of Minnesota, or to Carver Link, which is connected, our backup is the state of Minnesota. So this is huge, and that's on a yearly basis. In 2023, we also used E-rate to purchase brand new switches in the library, which we had on bullet number 49, and just kidding, but that was all new switches in the library throughout to increase our speed and security, and that was E-rate funded, and that was like $100,000. So if you think about this is a really big impact on the library, and we don't know what's going to happen until June or July when the Supreme Court will rule on this.
And that's Schools, Health, and Libraries Broadband Coalition.
Thank you. I knew that, I just couldn't think of it right now.
But E-rate is the what? Is the funding, is it?
It's federal funding, and it's based on a discount rate, and it used to be based on the free and reduced lunch.
Right.
And now it's based on a calculation of your closest school district. So our school district is District 112, right? Eastern Carver County Schools, and our discount rate is 60%. So we get reimbursed for 60% of that, and then the other part of that gets reimbursed with our LTA, which is under the same umbrella. So that's cut also, or we don't know what's going to happen with that.
We don't know yet, yeah.
Do you know the rates for the western parts of the county, the schools, the districts in the western?
The whole thing is on our rate, which is
Okay.
District 112. They
Okay,
do
so
it for
112 feeds into
all of the other school districts. They have the same rate for E-rate,
Got it.
but it'll be affecting all of the schools. I had an email from one of the leaders at District 112 yesterday asking me for, well, really, if I had any other information. And I said something as positive as I could. She was wondering if this was going to affect the virtual library card program, and I said, I don't want to be over optimistic. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you this, that Carver County Library is fully behind, and will do everything we can for the kids at schools for the virtual library card program. So lots of change in the air.
Was there anything else you wanted to highlight on your report, Jody?
I was gonna say maybe just something positive, but Patrick shared from collection and circulation. So if you look from March of last year to March of this year. We're just, have some nice increases in circulation. And we also included, even from, directly related to virtual library card, from February to March of 2025, there was a 40% increase in digital circulation just for that pocket of users. We were able
Cool.
Catherine was able to target that for us.
40%.
Yep. So we'll celebrate that.
And we'll celebrate, we now have about 5,000 students signed up for virtual library cards, and we have an automatic program that they sign up with their form on their line with their teacher, or the student can do it online. It sends a report to our system takes that and uploads it, and they are live in the system the very next morning. I get up at 2:45 and load that and then run it, and then, no, I'm kidding.
You type it.
Right.
M.A.
Thank you, Jody. We don't have Nick here today, do we?
No, we do not.
We do not have Nick today. And we don't have Patrick from Chanhassen, but do we have anyone? Doesn't look like it.
No, so you can just, Patrick included some, wonderful photos and activities that have been happening in Chanhassen and Victoria, including, I love the sleepover story time for all the stuffed animals. That's a highlight, a very popular program. So,
Yes.
But just a lot of great, wonderful engagement happening. And I think, very nicely shared in his report, so.
And I see that he has an item here for Carver Scott Master Gardeners. We're doing the seed library again. Is that all locations?
All locations.
All locations
Yep.
are having a seed library again. Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's a program I want to
Okay.
update on.
Kevin Prochaska.
I'll keep it really brief.
People to share.
I will highlight the story time with Master Gardeners as well. We had 90 people in our
Holy
tiny little
crap.
kids area. And so I ended my report with, it's a good problem. Our story times are increasing in attendance from week to week. And so we're having to get imaginative with how we can fit all the people into our little space.
Creative, yeah.
Yep.
Have you started to use that outdoor space? Like, we need to
We
tell
will-
everyone to bring their own chair?
We will definitely be
summertime?
using the outside space, weather permitting.
Yep.
Yes.
When are you gonna get a new library?
Keep asking. Yeah, keep asking.
When I started 9 years ago, I was told that year the library was going to start. Well, but remember, it took 40 years to get 212 built. So just think of it that way.
No. I don't want to think of it that way. I want to think we're going to plan next year. That's my positive thought.
That's the city's thought too, I think.
Yeah.
Is Margot here?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that we've met. I apologize. My name is Stacy, and I think I represent your district, Norwood Young America.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. We should talk sometime. Okay, thank you. Do you want to share?
I'm just sharing what I don't know. So I'm tending to look toward people. So I picked out some things that were representative to share, and I did include some data in this. I like to do a nice balance of data and the images, just because the data equals the people. So I like to imagine all the people, all the kids, all the people that you're seeing in here, and then look at the data and take that face and put it to some of that data. And because we can look at that, look at these as two separate things, and I really want to try to blend those for you. And then the other thing too is I just wanted to, the bottom of it, and I'm going to probably do it this way every time, just draw your attention to a little bit of something. These are our staff in the West, and those staff are what keep us going. And I don't know if you know them, or you may not have had the chance to meet them or have them here, but they're all really wonderful. Now, I may be new to the Western branches, but I was here before, and a lot of these people were here when I was here before, so it really is a great privilege to have the opportunity to do to work with them. And the people I didn't know before are just as awesome. So I'm just looking forward to sharing more with you as I get to know people and the community better. And I think there's a lot to go on and share. Anyway, yeah,
Cool.
that's all I got.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Susan always includes some items of press. Matt Uderman looks like he was talking to somebody on the local news. Board game gatherings, anniversary. Oh yeah, the anniversary celebration for Victoria Library is coming up. We should probably talk about that just briefly. Looks like 10 to 3 on Saturday the 3rd, if anyone's able to go.
Yes.
Lots of fun things.
Then we're gonna have a, remember if it's right away at 10 or 10:30, there's a short, we'll have a short program with a few guest speakers.
Cool.
So celebrating 10 years at the Victoria.
10 years at
Library.
Victoria.
So,
Isn't Patrick planning on making the big announcement of extra hours, open hours?
Oh, so that's when he'll tell the community? Oh, very good, okay, cool.
I need to announce that
Cool.
day, so, yeah.
Just so you know, we have a report, a notice, ready to go out on that day too, right? So,
Through Searcy.
right, exactly.
Okay. Does anyone have other business they'd like to discuss today?
I brought puzzles. I've got brand new puzzles that are unopened for anyone who wants them from the libraries, if you're so inclined.
Wrestle,
Yeah, they wrestle.
Arm wrestle,
all the really nice ravens.
rock, paper, scissors.
So please help yourself. I don't have to ones, so I don't-
So if that wraps things
I'll
up,
take
do I have a call for adjournment?
Yes.
So moved.
Second,
I did it.
motion, you'll second the motion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
All
Aye.
opposed, say nay.
We want Bob's.
Let me-
Meeting adjourned. That's hard.